Hey, what's up you guys? So today I wanted to go through my February TBR. So for this TBR, I own like none of the books, so it's fine. First and foremost, let's start off with the January TBR that I didn't get to that I still want to, which is A Sky Beyond the Storm. So this is the last book in the An Ember in the Ashes series by Sabaa Tahir. So if you don't know, this series is a Roman-inspired fantasy series about a girl who winds up spying on a military academy for a resistance movement, and she winds up meeting a guy who does not particularly want to be at the military academy. So they wind up kind of teaming up to do things, and it's great. So I have book talks up for the first 3 books in the series if you want to know about my individual thoughts on each of those books. But this book I have been so excited to get to. It came out in December of last year, and I really meant to get to it this past month. I just have been so busy reading all of the other things that have been on my TBR this month. But that is so far the only book I don't think I'm going to be able to get to this month, which is great. So I definitely look forward to starting that the first chance I get in February. So the next couple books I want to read is The Name of the Wind and The Wise Man's Fear by Rothfuss. So this is the King Killer Chronicles, and these are the first 2 books in that series. It is supposed to be a trilogy, but who knows if the last book is ever going to come out. But I have heard such good things about these 2 books that I really want to read them and kind of get a feel for that type of epic fantasy, because as I said in my kind of goals video, I do want to try to do NaNoWriMo this year, and I am someone who loves fantasy, and I believe that you should write what you know, so I know fantasy, so I'm going to try to come up with a really stupid fantasy novel to write for NaNoWriMo. And so I think that I should read some fantasy to start kind of inspiring me, because I have really been thinking about characters that I want to create and how I would create them, and I feel like the way in which I would create them would be similar to the way in which Rothfuss does, because he has a YouTube channel where he kind of discusses his process, and he's a huge Dungeons and Dragons nerd, and so am I. And kind of my plan for making characters is honestly just to make D&D characters, which I think is so fun. My only problem is I'm really good at creating one character, which is the dumb character in the group, so I gotta come up with ways to make actual smart intellectual characters, because you can't just have everyone be the dumb character in the group, or else y'all gonna be dead. I mean, like, I am the seriously dumb character in the group. One time during a combat, I decided I was going to run through all of the rooms rather than participate in the combat, and I wound up starting a whole nother fight where I was all by myself in a room, but I survived, and so did everyone else. It was great. We made a lot of mistakes during that combat, but I had a lot of fun. Oh, and so this is just a fantasy series, like epic fantasy series, about a guy who goes to university, and that's really all I got. I know that some aspect of it is kind of using Rothfuss's love for economy, so there is some kind of like money stuff that I'm just going to assume is going to play a part in things. I don't think it's going to be like an overarching theme or anything. I just think it's going to be part of his world. So anyways, I look forward to starting that. The next 2 books on my list are coming out this month, so that is The Gilded Ones and then A Court of Silver Flames. So The Gilded Ones, if you don't know, is a new young adult fantasy series that is coming out this year. I don't remember who it is by, but I will put their name right here. This book is really interesting based off of the premise. I don't remember what it is right now, other than it has something to do with like blood and whether or not you have like gold or red blood, and if you have gold blood, I think you have like abilities or something. I don't remember. That's really all I got. But anyways, I look forward to starting that this month, especially since that is just coming out, and it looks so exciting. Like, really, the premise, it just gets me. I highly recommend like reading through the premise if you haven't, and if you like fantasy like me, I think it'll be a great one. And then the other one that I said was A Court of Silver Flames. So this is the new Sarah J. Maas book that is coming out. That is the continuation to the A Court of Thorns and Roses trilogy. So I believe this book is going to center around different characters from that same universe, so I don't know how important it's going to be that you read that original trilogy. I'm not going to read the novella in between that trilogy and this new one that's coming out, because I've heard not great things about it, and honestly I'm just not that interested. But I am really interested to continue on with the series and see where it goes, especially given the fact that this book I believe is going to center around Nesta and Cassian, which were 2 great characters from the original series. So we'll just see how it goes, especially because Sarah J. Maas's writing style is some of my favorite that I've read. Like, Throne of Glass is an epic series. I honestly prefer to the ACOTAR series, but it's fine because that series ended so well, and I would not want it to end any other way. Also, what is up with the fact that like with these big epic fantasy series like A Game of Thrones, The Lies of Locke Lamora, The Name of the Wind, these series, the authors like cannot finish them for the life of them, but like young adult series, it's like they pop out books every single year. It's like, why can't y'all do that? I mean, I understand like the writing style is different, it's a little bit more mature, it's a little bit higher, but like it's frustrating. I want a finished epic fantasy series. other than like Lord of the Rings, which I've already read. So the next book on my list is Prince of Shadows. So I do want to kind of apologize for lying to you guys. I actually haven't read Prince of Shadows. I thought I had, but I read Lady Midnight this week, like earlier today, and I discovered I had not actually read Prince of Shadows because everything that I thought was in Prince of Shadows was in Lady Midnight, and I was like, what the hell is happening? It's fine. So I'm gonna read Prince of Shadows for the first time this month. I originally was planning on reading it on audiobook, but that might not happen because I don't like to read like fantasy books for the first time on audiobook, so I might have to find a different audiobook to go with, but that's fine because yeah, sometimes you just make mistakes. So if you don't know, The Dark Artifices is a series by Cassandra Clare. This is the third series in the Shadowhunters world. And I would say that in order to read the series in this world, you don't necessarily have to read the other ones in it. I really recommend The Imperial Devices if you haven't read that yet. We'll see what I say about The Dark Artifices once I've finished it. But as far as Lady Midnight goes, I think it is her strongest opener in a series. So I look forward to seeing where this series goes in this world. I will say that in order to read Lady Midnight and fully appreciate it, I do recommend reading the Mortal Instruments series, which is like City of Bones, City of Ashes, City of Glass, in order to really appreciate some of the character moments that you get in Lady Midnight, because there is stuff that does kind of hinge upon what happened in that series. And so if you don't actually want to read that series, at least just like look at a summary or something, figure out kind of where that series left off, because it is important for Dark Artifices. And so The Dark Artifices follows Emma Carstairs, who is searching for the killers of her parents, as well as Julian Blackthorne, who is also searching for the killers of Emma's parents so that he can try to save his brother. So the next book on my list is Legendborn. So I believe that this is another urban fantasy book written by Tracy Dion, and this book follows a girl who has just started at college, and she winds up witnessing a magical event happen, and so she kind of has to figure out what to do from there, and she starts investigating, and she gets kind of involved in this magical society on campus, and I think it's like a King Arthur retelling. So I've heard really great things about this book, and it honestly just looks so fantastic. This is one of the only 2 books on my TBR that I already own, so I'm definitely going to be getting to this book this month. I do look forward to reading Legendborn and falling in love with another fantasy world, because if you don't know, the theme of my life right now is I just want fantasy. I just want more fantasy and more fantasy. Okay, so since everything else on this list is fantasy, I was like, I need something that isn't fantasy to at least pretend like I have some balance in my life. So I put The Wife Between Us on here. I don't know who wrote it, but my dad recommended it to me. I believe it is a thriller. I believe it is about someone who like gets married and then gets divorced, and I don't know exactly. I could be completely wrong, so do keep that in mind. And naturally, because I couldn't read 8 books this last month, I have 8 books on this TBR as well, because might as well be ambitious. Might as well. So the last book on my TBR is Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson. So if you don't know, this is another epic fantasy series, but this one is at least finished, and that's kind of why I put this on here, because I want to at least have like a finished series that I can read the entire thing of. But outside of that, I'm not really sure what Mistborn is honestly about. I've heard great things, but I haven't actually heard what it's about. I just know that the magic system is supposedly really unique, and the overall story is just really unique. So I do look forward to starting that. That is a trilogy, I believe, so hopefully I should be able to finish that pretty easily by March, but we shall see. So anyways, that is my February TBR. If you like this video, please like, subscribe, comment, all that jazz. I post videos on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays, so I will see you then. Bye!